why is it important to talk about it? Good. So now you are dealing with your own mental health because you know what is right and wrong. Lack of willpower causes mental illness.
Yes.
Willpower?
I think willpower, yeah, you have to be strong. And that's my view. You can correct me. But I feel like you have to have the will to, like if you're going through a depression, have the will to be able to stand, look for help.
Okay, well, that's your view. In our study, it's not true. Because that is one of the things we have within our own culture. When someone is dealing with mental illness, they say, oh, that person is not strong enough. He doesn't have willpower to get over it. Does the person with cancer doesn't have willpower to get over it? No. When somebody has a cancer, that's not to do with willpower. It happens, it's medical. So I'm glad you said what you said, because it gives us now opportunity to say the reason why that is not true. That it has nothing to do with willpower. When somebody is depressed, depression has nothing to do with willpower. It's an illness that affects the brain. And so willpower cannot do that. Good. Marriage can cure mental illness. If I get married, I'm a single person. If I get married, I will feel better. Yes or no? True? Is that true? Good. Mental problems are only seen in literate, poor people. People with mental illness disorder can never be productive members of the community. Once a psychiatric patient will always be a psychiatric patient. Now, why are those things like that? I brought this up because this is how we feel sometimes. And this is how we do not take care of those things, because we believe all those things I just mentioned. Those are myths. Those are not true. Mental illness has no discrimination, whether you are poor, whether you are PhD, whether you are this. If it hits, it hits. And it has nothing to do with willpower. It just has to do with understanding what that is and be able to deal with it like any physical health. And that is why we are saying no health without mental health. All those things are associated and they work hand in hand. It is our job to identify those things and be able to do what we call early intervention, because it's out before it's out of hand. Good. You guys are good learners. I think that tells me how much you know about this. Now, there are some key facts. A lot of things that we do when it comes to mental health and mental illness, there are factors that cause them. Disorder do not discriminate, can affect anyone, regardless of your situation. And as such, mental health disorders are very common. So the more reason why we are talking about this is because this thing is very common. 1 out of 5 individuals, 1 out of 5% will experience mental illness. Not necessarily you, it could be a family member, it could be a friend that you know. So 1 out of 5 people, that's very high. So to me, it makes it worth talking about it. If it's so prevalent, it's very important. I do remember, sometimes because we don't talk about this, people lose their life. Few years ago, within the community that maybe some of you know, I did something in the church, and there's one guy that was really asking me questions, but never come out to say, my daughter is having depression. After I did this presentation that time, 2 months later, I heard a 24-year-old lady die of depression. If we have talked about that during our training, I was curious. I should have probed to say, do you have somebody in the family that is experiencing this right now? We could have looked for resources and help. And it was a gathering like this. and it's our own community, Africans. So we need to not hide our illness, because what you hide later will become public. When the person dies, we will know what caused the person to die. So this public or community hideout is better to say than later. It affects quality of life. Mental illness affects quality of life. Say for example, somebody has mental illness, depression, they cannot even get up to go to Walgreens to get their prescribed medication. It's affecting their life. They cannot go to work, they cannot hold a job, they cannot do social gathering. Things that used to be really fun turn out to be a chore. To me, that makes us to be important and be vigilant about mental illness. So when you miss those things, we cannot take those things for granted. And so, please, it's very, very important. If you are doing this every quarter, I would recommend it, because the information is crucial to people. And if you go out yourself, you can be an ambassador to talk about mental health and mental illness. Because a lot of people mix them up. They think, oh, if I can come to church and do all those things, that's all. What are the factors that affect mental health? Again, remember now, what factors affect your mental health, which is the positive part of your health, is what turned it to be mental illness. So what are the factors? There are very many factorial things that causes that. Developmental stage. Sometimes some kids went through some environments, some developmental stages, what they went through, maybe through abuse, maybe through, you don't have to be beating kids before they get abused. Maybe the word you use for the kid, oh, you are just a loser, oh, you are, can you just do something right? I know African parents, I know how we talk to each other. I know this is not something that is unique to all of you here, but it's something I have to take myself out of that. I remember when my kids were growing up, I would tell them when I'm taking them to school, I am not an helicopter mom. If you forgot something, forget it. I will not come back from work to come and pick it up and take it back to school. So sometimes the way we treat those kids, they become so fearful. We may not know that it's abuse, but the way we talk to the kids can be abusive. So those things make them be conscious of self-esteem. They lose some self-esteem, which is part of mental illness. That is when you see some kid having ADHD, they're so restless and things like that. I know that topic is to another day. Factors affecting mental health: our social, our race, our socio-economic status. Your zip code matters. Where you live matters. How it affects your mental well-being. Biological. Those are factors affecting the good aspect of mental health. Your biological traits. Sometimes we have those things as part of biological hereditary that we inherit. Environmental, the place where we live. Again, I mentioned something about your zip code, your housing. Maybe that housing has lead, toxic. All those things affect people's mental health that turn out to be mental illness. So your environment matters. It is important we take care of those things. Those things we take for granted can affect our mental health that will turn into mental illness. Causes. What are the causes of this disorder? Again, I mentioned something like biological, adverse childhood experiences. Experiences that children may have that become adversive to their health. We call it ACE, adverse child effects. Physical. Sometimes some people See, that is one of the reasons why we say willpower doesn't work. A person has an accident and hit his head or her head and has what we call TBI, which is traumatic brain injuries that led to mental illness. Now you can see that has nothing to do with willpower, when I said it last time. So some of those things are, yes, by mental health that is disordered. And so that has nothing to do with evil eye or somebody doesn't like you. Another question I have is mental disorder are untreatable. We self-stigmatize ourselves as opposed to just thinking other people are stigmatizing us. Mental illness is defined by the culture, and culture defines what constitutes madness and craziness. It is the culture that defines those things. Spiritual causes are frequently explained as what causes mental illness. Spiritual causes are frequently explanation for mental illness among African communities. You keep saying, oh, you are not praying well enough, you are not praying frequently enough, that is why you are delusional. That is why you are psychotic. No, that is not what that is. Even in the Bible, there are verses that respond to mental illness. I'm sure many of you have read that. If you have not, I can give you some verses later on. So, we look at mental illness as spiritual. We are not doing well enough in our ministry, in our religions, belief system. So a lot of those things are just belief system. And like I said, I will not go through many because of the time. I will have something that we call takeaways. What are the things you need to take away for this brief presentation? And from what I heard, this is not going to be an ongoing. Hopefully, there will be more time for me or whoever comes to do more justice to this, because, like I said, it is important. It affects 1 out of 5 people, and it affects 1 out of 4 youth, which is a different category that we need to talk about. When we talk about kids, I usually describe some of the kids that were born here, and I'm sorry if any kid is here that is less than 18, don't quote me and don't fight me. I describe those kids as ABC, American born confused. Because we put so much on them and they are confused. They go to school, what they learn is different. When they come home, what is different. In early childhood, you cannot talk when you are eating. But when in school, they have to socialize and talk when they are eating. And when they come home, their parents say, don't talk when you are eating. That is why I say American born confused. It is important we don't confuse them more by really making sure we tell them the truth. Again, takeaways. 1, there is no health without mental health. 2, mental illness can be complex, debilitating, but there is always hope and recovery. There's always recovery. The attentive and early warnings. I did a presentation about a week, 2 Sundays ago in the church, and the topic was syndrome after holidays, which we call the blues after the holiday. Many of you enjoy the Christmas, enjoy holiday time, but there is something after that people could not even hold the job for a while. And we'll talk about that as part of our mental health day. Always see mental illness as any other illnesses. like diabetes, like cancer. These are takeaways. Talk to your pastor and close friend for support and resources. Do not always stigmatize yourself. Do not stigmatize your own illness. Instead of that, take it and treat it well. Look at it as something that is out of your control. And as such, you'll be able to deal with that. I'm going to pause for a while for any discussion. I know all guys have been sitting down here for a while and ready to leave and enjoy the little song we have. I don't know how long it's going to last, but hey, enjoy it while it lasts. Thank you. I'm open for any question, discussion. My number is 612. There's nothing here to project it, but
anytime you need, any help, please let's get reach to him. Thank you very much for your kind words and information about mental health. We will be inviting you again. Like we said, we will have these sessions every 2 weeks after we have a session on mental health. I hope anytime we need you, you'll be there for us. Thank you so much.
Yes,
thank you members for being part of this session. We hope to see you again. May God bless you. Bye. We have a lot of food for giving us this wonderful